Welcome, one and all, to the finals of the Asia Empires of the Ascended Seasonal. On the
Oh
top
yeah.
here, we have DK, a top 4 competitor from the previous seasonal. On the bottom here, we have J01, the highest LP ladder player in the world,
Yep.
claiming the number 1 Asia spot multiple times in a row, currently sitting, I believe, at number 1 on the European ladder as well, and coming to North America sometime soon. These are two phenomenal players, and here we see at the bottom it was Frostbite mid-range band as well as Scargrounds. That's right, it's not a Frostbite mid-range band on both sides. DK brought Scargrounds, but it does mean that we are going to have Overwhelm and Targon's Peak versus Asol Shyvana and Frostbite Foundry in the finals. Did anybody predict that?
No, but I did. Well, I did in fact predict that we would have, and I said it earlier. I'm going to say it again. Boulevard, you're not going to like it. We are going to have peak gameplay in the finals here of the season. Totally, I can say as many times as I want, Boulevard, right? I am very, very excited to be casting this right now, Boulevard. We had an absolutely insane semifinals with that peak deck, but for now, we have Overwhelm, which we've been seeing a lot of in the top cut, versus another deck that we saw earlier on in the round of 32. Aurelian Soul in general being paired with either Leona, Shyvana, Zoe. In this case, we have Shyvana. We saw J01 earlier in the round of 32 playing this deck, and Shyvana seems to be the way to go, believe it or not, in more of a dragon-oriented build.
I was talking with Casanova a little bit before the seasonal started up, and we were talking about how we were nearly 100% sure that dragons were going to win the seasonal, at least in Asia, right? Because if you think back to the Monuments of Power seasonal, what were the decks that everybody was talking about? You had Starspring, Go Hard, Feel the Rush, Mist Wraiths.
Yep.
And then Asia just comes out with this Fiora Aurelian Soul deck. And this region has just been trying to make Asol Demacia work for 3 seasonals now. This is the format where it feels like it's really a meta mainstay, and it's here in the finals.
So what you're saying is BBG is actually undercover in Asia most of the time, which is why he's always on Demacia Targon then, right?
Some players have lines of thinking that align a lot more with certain regions. A lot of times when I throw out a prediction, I'm like, huh, well, Europe went with what I said. And
Must
they
be
threw
right.
me under the bus.
Well, we have the Dragon Chow. Unfortunately, there actually is a lot of vulnerable floating around in this format between Nasus Thresh and then, Overwhelm running these different vulnerable cards. So Dragon Chow, a very vulnerable unit, being able to get picked off. And actually a couple times now we've seen it in the top cut. And I don't think that when you build this deck, you're usually too worried about that. But going up against these decks, it's happening. And unfortunately, not going to be able to get eaten up there by this turn 5 Screeching Dragon that we see in hand. Unless, oh, that's going to feel bad.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, and that means that, there is vulnerable on the Screeching Dragon, but what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Like, you can try and Shaped Stone something into it and get hushed and feel really bad. Although, would you really feel bad about getting a hush out when you've got Battle Furies that you're just paving the way for at that point?
Yeah, I will take a Shape Stone for Hush trade any day of the week. That's one less Hush I got to worry about, and that is one of the power cards in Targon. So, and especially when you're staring down a Battle Fury in hand, I feel like that's going to feel pretty good. You can also Shape Stone on one of the Rock Hoppers and not actually have to utilize that on your Ancient Yeti there. So it forces a Hush out onto a not so great unit. And that does mean that the Yeti would trade with the Solari Sunforger as well.
Okay, I was a little curious if we were going to exhaust anything and, just like maybe exhaust onto the Sunforger so that the Yeti can kill it a little more cleanly.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like we are just going to grab the Screeching Dragon. I would assume we're not sacking the Yeti. Yeah, we're going to use an exhaust down onto this. And now this does play around Hush. Oh, wow, we're even going all in and trying to take this out. And now the Hush is really awkward, but I think that's fine. I don't think, like you had mentioned, you really want to use that anyway because there are Battle Furies waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I do like this out of DK. I mean, this is what this deck has to do, right? It needs to be aggressive. And again, going all in on that strategy, on that game plan, you are getting rid of these units that are pretty impactful against your deck right now. Screeching Dragon can do a lot of work. It can pick off another Rock Hopper next turn as an example. This also does push through a little bit of Overwhelm damage, albeit only 2. But hey, damage is damage. We'll take it. Also going into turn 6 here, J01, generally speaking, this deck on turn 6 doesn't have the best turn 6 plays. Turn 5 is Screeching Dragon, turn 7 is Eclipse Dragon, turn 6 is a little awkward. So DK knows that. DK knows we'll have the attack token going into turn 7, so we can develop a little bit more on turn 6 with, oh wait, hey, hello Alpha Wildclaw in hand. So this does look to be setting up a very good attack on turn 7 for DK.
And I believe that's a 1 of Alpha Wildclaw.
I will let you know here. It is in fact a 2 of Alpha Wildclaw.
Okay, I think the other overwhelm list that we saw out of Jake was a 1 of Alpha Wildclaw.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It is reasonable that we would hit it here. And the Alpha Wildclaw doesn't upset the curve at all. It does still give us that Battle Fury on 8, but it looks like we're going to value holding up exhaust mana as well. See if a lower tier target can come out that we can push a little bit more overwhelm damage through. And maybe just even saying, hey, you know what? I really want a Battle Fury Ruin Runner specifically. I want this on my spell shield.
Yeah, and that does leave you Battle Fury mana open for the next turn, and I do think that is a consideration. Actually, if you played Alpha Wildclaw, you still would have had the Battle Fury mana too. So
yeah, but the spell shield, I think, is what we were super going for there. And
plus exhaust. Now you have Battle Fury and exhaust and Shape Stone.
Is this lethal?
Yeah, hold on. I think now with Shape Stone, you say Battle Fury, I don't need you, and you just go in here.
I was actually wondering if Battle Fury Shaped Stone was lethal, and I don't think it was because of the Sharp Sight top deck. But this is still going to be really, really impactful. I would imagine we're going to exhaust the 2-1 as well to make sure that we drag that out of the way and just get a full devastating clear down onto the board. How much does Infinite
wait, 8? Wait, on exhaust is 4. Wait, I think that's game with exhaust Shaped Stone. Yeah. Hush.
Oh, we can hush Sejuani to take away or the. Is this lethal that we've presented here? That's 4. That can't be lethal.
Wait, no, that's 4, 8,
like
12. No, it's 12. Yeah, it would have been lethal with Shaped Stone, but there's hush to play around. So, oh wait, did we just? I know it's still not lethal with Shaped Stone after the Sharp Sight.
Yeah, I'm seeing 6, 10 damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, that's going to put you down to 5. There's the healing in the deck for J01, aka WCS Master, is very expensive. You're not going to be able to like safely throw down star shaping on the following turn. Say, good job, I've survived. You're going to have to throw down the Infinite Mind Splitter, which you've hung onto the hush. I think that this might actually be exactly what J01 needed to live into, because the Alpha Wildclaw is going to be susceptible to hush, and you have to pre-commit the Battle Fury because it can just get blocked. Yeah,
this is actually all of a sudden looks amazing for J01 here. This you should just line up. Yeah, so the problem with putting the Mind Splitter as the blocker there is that if there is something like a Shape Stone or really any buff there for the Alpha Wildclaw, it will trade, meaning both of these other Overwhelm units on board are going to be able to attack on the following turns. So I do like this block setup here. This will likely get... there's never... Okay, yeah, so Shape Stone is not going to put us at lethal. It would have to be Battle Fury. That's really... Do you do that on the side of DK? Do we risk Battle Fury here?
I definitely like Troll Chanting.
Okay.
But, I mean, I definitely don't hate Battle Fury, right? Like, you kind of got to go for it at some point, because that's what the Hush is being saved for. There's no universe where you actually get to bait out the Hush without Battle Furying when you're this late in the game against a deck like this.
So now do we take the trade or do we Troll Chant? It looks like DK is, in fact, going to go ahead and Troll Chant, keep this Alpha Wildclaw chugging along here, but again, Mind Splitter still going to survive here. We could single combat with the Mind Splitter.
Oh no, if we single combat Mind Splitter, we lose to Shaped Stone. I think you just... Oh no!
Whoa, man.
That's gonna... And the Wild Claw kills both units. It's gonna live through the Infinite Mind. We could still Dragon's Clutch to +1/+1, and that'll let our Eclipse Dragon live. But holy moly, was that's an untimely Shaped Stone from DK for J01. There was no reason to risk the Mind Splitter like that, I don't think. We could have just gotten down the second Eclipse Dragon.
I think you were okay with that trade. Yeah, without having to commit that single combat. And that's, man, I say this all the time. That is the power of one-cost spells, or just cheap spells like that. They come out of absolutely nowhere. And just as I say that, another Shape Stone off the top. This is looking rough. I will say we have another Eclipse Dragon that can come down for J01. And again, every time we say J01, we are referring to WCS Master there, constantly getting that different account in there. But these are two really big blockers. And now that we've committed the Battle Fury, we're in a pretty good spot where we don't have to worry. I mean, J01 doesn't know this, but DK knows we don't really have any more aggression. And none of these units actually threaten pushing damage onto the Nexus now.
Oh, we might actually still be fine here. If the shaped stone comes out of DK on defense, then it goes the other way. The single combat gets to come through, kill the Renekton, and let the Screeching Dragon live. It's just a matter of, are we going to have the life total to survive through the remaining overwhelm damage? And as it stands, as long as DK top decks Battle Fury, there is nothing that J01 is going to be able to do to stop that.
As long as, I mean, Boulevard, that's literally the only way that DK, I think, wins this game. I think.
Look, sometimes DK, that was not the extent of his luck in the top four, right? Like, he's got to have a little bit more in the reserve if he's making this far with these decks. And I am a little curious to know if the single combat is going to come out here. It makes a lot of sense to me. You know, you are going to have just trading this unit away. Your Screeching Dragon gets to live. You still have an Eclipse Dragon that is a little bit bigger than the Ruin Runner. I really like this single combat Shapestone, sort of playing out the opposite of the previous turn did. And now,
what do we got?
Game.
What do we got? That is not a Battle Fury. Yeah, and I do think that, you know, as this plays out, it's going to be game.
Lethal. We can single combat this Trapper and then go for the open attack and just win the game.
Yep, yeah.
Not going to be enough to save us. DK's not running the random one-off flash freeze. I don't think there's a Three Sisters in here either. There's a Three Sisters, but it's Ice Shard.
Ice Shard, not going to do it. And that is going to be J01 WCS Master taking game 1 in the finals of the Aegis Seasonal.
Ooh, we've got a deck switch over to the Targon's Peak, not wanting to run back the Overwhelm, though we will still have to pick up a win with that one a little bit later on. DK versus J01, game 2 of the finals here of the Empires of the Ascended seasonal tournament. Both these players, no strangers to the top cut of even the seasonal tournaments. Both of these players have appeared at least one time before. Both of them locked in for Worlds, but of course, you still want that prize money and that prestige.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we are actually getting DK here to switch on over to Peak instead of running back. You know, we just saw this Overwhelm deck take a loss there, instead opting to go for Peak. So we saw this deck high roll the heck out of itself in the semifinals here to Feel the Rush at 0 cost in back-to-back turns, which is probably the highest roll you're ever going to get with that card. We do already see Feel the Rush here in hand. We do already see Targon's Peak in hand. Boulevard, is this going to be Deja Vu all over again?
It very well could be.
Oh, man.
We don't have the ramp available this time. No Catalyst, no Weirding Stone. So we are going to have to wait a little bit longer. But it's not like the Frostbite Foundry is a deck that's putting the aggression on early. You know, that they're taking the early turns to set up. And we did see DK win this matchup a little bit earlier on.
Well, we will see if it's going to happen here. We don't have nearly as much ramp here. We're actually just going to be heading into turn 5 in a natural turn 5 when we play Peak, so we'll see if that's going to be the case there.
Moonsilver, I think, is nothing. It would have been really cool to get that last turn.
Yeah, Moonsilver would have been nice to get Peak down early. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Spacey Sketcher is played. Another reason is to discard some of the cheaper cards in hand, so you can kind of guarantee that Peak hits a good target. I'm just trying to think here. I mean, we could actually play Serpent, go in for an attack, and then play Avalanche to empty our hand going into Peak, and that's going to actually maximize how high of a roll we could possibly get with this card. So
I guess the question is, do you even need that? You know, DK is someone who so far this tournament high rolled about as hard as a player possibly could. So maybe just saying, you know what, I don't even need that. And we still will have, of course, the opportunity to get the Serpent down after we get the Peak down, develop it as a blocker, because yes, Targon's Peak can hit 0 mana cards.
Yeah, and I see no reason why we don't throw this down. But now there's really only one bad hit, and it's going to be Avalanche, and that's bad. That's bad for J01.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely bad for J01 if there's only one bad hit. Even if DK hits the Avalanche, it's one turn where you don't get to play a card that wins the game.
Yeah.
You pretty much only have cards that win the game left after that.
Oh man, do we get the back-to-back high rolls with this deck on Field of Rush? Let's see it, DK. How good of a high roll can you get? All right, that's still pretty good. That's still pretty good.
It is not bad by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh man, we even get some
I would
ramp.
actually be surprised if we throw out the Avalanche first. Nope, are just going to throw down the Aesol. Maybe going to play the ramp spell this turn as well instead of the Avalanche. Say, you know what? This will get us a few more good targets. It'll ramp us into the point where I can just play anything else that I wanted to play in the first place. Things looking pretty solid for DK. Has it online. Really hasn't taken too much damage. Is still going to clear the board this turn with the Avalanche, actually, and still be able to play Catalyst after the fact. So continuing to empty out some of these dead cards.
Man, landmark removal suddenly looking pretty good, Boulevard, huh?
Yeah, I think there was an Aftershock in one player's team over.
Yeah.
Maybe even just sniping out DK and being like, hey, I checked your ladder history. I noticed you've been playing a lot of Targon's Peak. I hate that. Let me...
Yeah, there's actually the 2 lowest cost cards in hand getting played. Gonna further optimize the shots there. And we got... All right, it's going to be a She Who Wanders. Jeez.
And that's pretty good.
Yep, last time I checked, it's all right. It's an okay card. Oh, Boulevard. God, this deck, absolutely love it, man. This is absolutely insane. And all the cards that we're drawing off the top, too. Like, we have Star Shaping. That's just going to get us another high-cost unit. Like, every single card is a good hit.
This Bale Site even gets the Golden Sisters out of our hand, which would have been considered one of the lower rolls as well.
Who wants Golden Sisters, Boulevard? That's such a jank card. We don't need that. We got Great Beyonds and Field of Rushes, Boulevard. Jeez.
Is this where we Mind Splitter to level Aesol? Unfortunately, Aesol is going to fall here. We could also just bank, like, if we Star Shaping this turn, that lets us naturally play Field of Rush next turn, which I feel like would have to be lethal with just a little bit of good RNG on the peak hit.
Yeah, this is not good for a J01.
Look at how bad J01's hand is. Oh, no, I see it now. Okay. Yeah, we're going to Star Shaping the Aesol.
Yep. Yeah. Because why not?
Yeah, just heal that up. You know, you pushed a little bit of damage onto it. Doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, at this point, do you just take the Scourge because it costs the most?
I mean, there's not a lot of difference between 10-10s and 12-12s, so I think this is the one deck where Cosmic Inspiration's like a pish. It's probably the worst pick there, because the Cosmic Rays would also obliterate this Ezreal, which I don't think you would hate to have happen. And it looks like the Mystic Shot has been hit again on the side of J01, but it was Field of Rush. No, it wasn't. We're just playing that anyway.
Wow. No, it was Face. Is that Faces? I always forget the name of that card. Voices are the old ones.
I feel like the unit has to be Faces, right?
It's Voices the old one. Faces is that 2-cost ramp.
Yeah, the
one.
0-2.
Yeah.
But we are just getting a Field of Rush, and
nothing we can do.
Is this just lethal?
I believe so. I mean, you're going to get an Aurelian Soul. You're going to get a Tryndamere.
Okay, no. I think we live. I think we block one of the units. We flash freeze another one with the 3 sisters, and we live at, you know, like 10. And then
you could also technically Mystic Shot the Aurelian Soul and then Brittle Steal it.
Yeah. I don't see us coming back from this, right? Like, no. This is gonna be game over in a couple of turns because the Aesols, they're not leveling per se. No, I think they are leveling. I don't think you can double freeze to keep the board at 20 power. Although you could kill an Aesol this way, so
that's a board.
Yeah, technically we live.
I think Aurelian Soul is leveling up next turn. I think if my math's right.
Next turn for sure. This turn not so much. Although I am a little surprised that we're lining up a block onto the Tryndamere and flash freezing that. We're gonna have to move this Ezreal because as it stands, this is still lethal.
Man, oh, it feels so... Like, I can only imagine being in J01 shoes, too. It feels so tilting, I imagine, to have to deal with this, because there's really nothing you can do about this. Like, this deck, too, on the side of J01, Frostbite Foundry, like, it just has so many dinky little tiny spells that just don't add up.
I think J01 is starting to realize that they're There is absolutely no universe where they win this game outside of DK top decking 16 mushrooms.
You know what's
I
funny?
don't even know if there are 16 mushrooms in the deck.
Everybody does the same thing when it gets to this point. They just rotate everything around the board to like dance all the units.
I want to start calling it the Dance of the Dead.
Yeah, it's basically what it is. Oh man. And yeah, Mystic Shot gonna threaten lethal onto an Aurelian Soul. Not the opponent, but you know, take the wins where you can get them.
Which means that the finals of this seasonal tournament will be determined by Teemo Sejuani Ezreal versus Renekton Sejuani Sivir. I did not expect a Sejuani mirror to be the game 3 decider, especially if you told me that neither of the decks are Frostbite midrange.
Especially after you told me that game 2 ended with Targon's Peak high rolling. So
he didn't even really high roll this game.
No,
right?
it just this game he kind of just did what the deck does.
Like average, I guess, and an average peak is still a really good peak.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, but that's the thing with Targon's Peak. You just have to draw Targon's Peak. If you draw Targon's Peak and it sticks to the board, then you will likely win the game.
Jdoza, is She Who Wanders going to win the seasonal? Because I would love I just love that.
It's looking like that might be the case, but we do still have one more game before that is in fact what's going to happen here. And yeah, I do think.
Yeah, I think that.
Well, J01's going for all the shrooms now. This is the only.
Well, there's no Puffcat Peddler on board, so we were just kind of doing that. We're actually not even playing the shrooms in hand. We were. We didn't even obliterate the Acel because we can't do that because it's a champion. So we popped the spell shield for nothing, really. Just open it up to a potential frostbite, maybe. But even a Harsh Winds top deck doesn't get us out of this. You know, there is nothing that J01 can top deck. It's all up to DK top decking as many mushrooms as possible, and we did not shuffle the shrooms into the deck.
Yeah, and there's no other options. There's zero other options for. Wow, that is.
I wonder if J01 thought that no, there's no way. I was gonna say I wonder if he thought that it was that Balesight hit units with 4 toughness or less, and that's why he troll chanted. But he flash freezed knowing that that one would be obliterated, so not really the case. So we just kind of got to sit here in limbo and wait for J01 to actually die to the multiple units. That
My God.
Here we go.
Because that was necessary. This is what we were talking about earlier, though, Boulevard, right? Where everybody just has to play out all the Celestials in their hand no matter. So we have to see the Scourge and the Destroyer come down now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we even hit. Oh, there's the Aftershock. It was J01 that's playing the Aftershock.
Oh wow.
And he just finds it entirely too late. We're getting a game 3, Jdoza.
A little late on the Aftershock. Very excited getting into game 2. Feel a rush. Surrender.
Game 3. Freljord v Freljord. Not TLC v TLC. Sharina's in the finals, but it's not Nasus.
What is going on?
Historians will look back at this one fondly and say, the weird seasonal.
The weird seasonal. Listen to you.
Where Sivir's in the finals and Teemo. I think these are 2 of the lowest win rate champions in the game. Actually, the lowest win rate champion in the game last time I checked was Leona, actually. At least for the American server. But.
Well, and you know, I will say Overwhelm is a little bit odd to see. I know it does have great matchups in the Nasus Thresh, but the Teemo deck, I mean, you and I have seen this go up against so many different matchups in the LRA and various other tournaments that we've casted. This deck does generally seem to have some very good matchup tables in some situations, and I don't know. I think because of that, we're just seeing it climb its way slowly but surely to the top of the ladder here. And I'm curious to see how often it was banned on J01's, climb to the top here. But man, now it's going to have to take down Overwhelm. And I got to say, Boulevard, I feel like the advantage is Overwhelm here.
Yeah, there's just not really enough Frostbite effects to pair up with the units. The Brittle Steels, for the most part, aren't going to be very effective. It feels really fortunate that you get any amount of value out of it here. And great, luckily, no landmarks means that Shapestone will not save this Ruthless Raider. But there's not a lot of draw coming out of DK either. It really is just that one pivotal draw. And if you can get a Battle Fury onto a Ruin Runner, that is nearly impossible for the Frostbite deck to deal with.
Yeah, there's just not enough removal here. Even the Mystic Shots on the side of J01, they just don't do a whole lot. They take care of the early game, on the side of DK, like what we just saw there with the Ruthless Raider, removing those off the field. But
Yeah.
now that we have this Ancient Yeti, oh man, the Ruin Runner, like you mentioned with Spell Shield, is insane. I mean, God forbid we get a Sivir down. I mean, then we're really not looking too hot. But we even have, we got another Rockhopper. We have an Ancient Yeti in hand, which is further going to just exacerbate this crazy tempo that we have right now on the side of DK. Things are not looking up. And these Hexcore Foundries, not cards that you want to play in this matchup.
I feel like they're not as big a detriment in this matchup as they are in others, just because this is more of a mid-range style deck. You're very top end, your cards are very expensive, but it still doesn't feel great. And like we'd mentioned a little bit earlier, we've only got one Flash Freeze in hand. Even like using double Flash Freeze to pop the Spell Shield off a Ruin Runner that got Battle Fury, sure, cool, you live through the turn. Can you kill the 14-8 Ruin Runner, or do I just run this back again next turn and you hope and pray that you have drawn literally every Frostbite effect in your deck until you can somehow mount a Teemo comeback?
Yeah, not for nothing, Boulevard. Being able on the side of DK to so quickly deal with a Sejuani and a Teemo is pretty insane. Now, this Flash Freeze is going to go ahead and save the Sejuani for the time being, and that is very, very important. As we always talk about, it seems like there are certain matchups where this deck hinges entirely on being able to level up Sejuani and have it stick around. That might be hard, but if we can accomplish that, Boulevard, I think that J01 might be back in this game.
Absolutely. There is nothing DK can really do outside of Entomb to deal with a leveled Sejuani, and even then you have to Entomb on J01's attack turn. Otherwise, the start of round effect is going to go off with the Shroom, but J01 didn't draw Ballistic Bot, and that's going to make it so much harder to actually level the Sejuani. We're just going in with an attack here and saying, you know what? I'm going to Shared Spoils you if you want to, or is it called Shared Spoils?
Shared Spoils. Right. Wait. Shared Spoils. I'm pretty sure it's Shared Spoils.
I thought Shared Spoils was the give your top 3 units.
Spoils, sorry, no. Spoils of War. Spoils of War.
Spoils of War, there we go. You gotta stop putting the same word.
Yeah.
But we are going to Three Sisters. I would imagine this is going to be Battle Fury.
No, Fury of the North.
Fury of the North, I meant.
Which actually
wouldn't have traded anyway. So I think that the Flash Freeze actually preserves the health of your unit a little bit better.
Old Fury of the North would have traded.
Well, yeah, old Fury. Old Fury would have been the play.
Yeah, that was scary for J01 though, but we did actually keep the Sejuani, so everything worked out. We do still have another Three Sisters actually to be able to entomb it if that comes down to it, but we still don't have Sejuani leveled. We have another vulnerable to take it off the board, and now J01 has no way to defend the Sejuani. This is why I don't like that last attack turn, because we pushed, in my perspective, unnecessary damage onto the Sejuani where we could have saved it this turn with the Spoils of War and at least kept it around. And we were only running 2.
I did like going for the kill onto something. They're pushing damage, and because I think that you wanted to push damage on that turn to try and level the Sejuani, because that is your big win con, right? If you don't level her, I don't think you're really ever coming back from this board state. And now it feels really bad that DK is a little bit gassed out, and now we have to throw down the Foundries because we also are gassed out. And at 9 HP and the Spell Shield still on the Ruin Runner, I'm not loving these odds, Jdoza.
Nope, we got a couple Shrooms off the top, and we do have, I mean, all right, it's not terrible because we can run out 2 Puff Cat Peddlers, we can run out all the spells in our hand, and we at least have a shot. That's one of the nice things about holding on to Hexcore Foundries is that when you've exhausted all of your options, you get to this point in the game where you just throw everything down in the field, and this deck does, the way that it's constructed and all of the cards, that we could top deck, this deck does have a good potential to like just all of a sudden plop 10 damage onto your opponent between Mystic Shots and adding Puff Caps in the deck and then drawing that last couple of turns with the multiple Hexcore Foundries.
So I have a question. Would you Mystic Shot face here, or would you Mystic Shot the Spell Shield off the Ruin Runner to try and open it up for Brittle Steel?
That's tough. I mean, right now, we actually live if we Brittle Steel the Ruin Runner, even with the Alpha Wildclaw. The damage wouldn't be enough, but it depends on if we see another Overwhelm unit.
Well,
it looks like we're going to hold it and just hold the Spell Mana and keep the option open.
Technically, you do have lethal with the Alpha Wildclaw with Shapestone and Fury of the North.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying for J01 doesn't know that, obviously, right? So, but with that said, you gotta imagine, especially with your opponent drawing a lot of cards, there's going to be another overwhelm unit drawn. So your opponent will almost definitely present lethal next turn. So I do like sending it face, but I think we're just gonna hold it until the next turn.
It's so awkward. I don't know if you can afford to use it next turn because
it puts more puff
is
caps.
To pop the spell shield so that you can play a burst spell, which doesn't work the other way around. So if you want to use it, you gotta use it now.
Mm-hmm. And I will say it makes more sense to, if we are going to go face, to use it now so we get 6 more puff caps in there.
Oh, we're brittle stealing to pop the spell shield, and then sending the Mystic Shot face.
Yeah.
I would imagine if we're doing that, we've got to send it face and then just hope for a Harsh Winds top deck, which with 3 draws, not out of the question. It's going to be really weird if we don't use the Mystic Shot this turn, I think.
I love that. I think that's J01 saying, okay, I know that if my opponent even just has 1 more overwhelm unit, that's game. My only out is Harsh Winds, so let's play to that 1 out, and this plays that 1 out perfectly, and it optimizes everything. I do think you should just throw the Mystic Shot face now and get the additional puff caps now. But, okay, no, we're not going to do it.
Hold it back.
I'm actually very surprised. Like, what else do we hold it back for? That seems so odd.
Ooh, only 1 shroom drawn on the first card? There's 3.
There's 3.
We've got 4 damage in hand. And I think I'm seeing lethal on the side of DK here.
Yeah, I don't think this... Yeah, that's going to be it. I don't think that the Mystic Shot last turn would have made a difference, even if we drew 2 more shrooms.
What doesn't make a difference in Teemo's situation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if we drew 2 more shrooms, they'd be at 5, and then we'd have this Mystic Shot. You'd still missing 3 damage. Like, you'd still have to high roll shrooms if that were the case.
Yep.
But I will say, this deck always is 1 turn away. If we live 1 more turn, we probably have lethal.
Yeah, the Frostbite Foundry just not lining up its Frostbite as well as it needed to throughout the course of the day, Jdoza. And that does mean that DK is going to be your Empires of the Ascended seasonal champion. We're lining these up, and I know that the Shapestone means that we still live through it, but I did get a little bit concerned watching the 4 damage lineup onto a 4 HP unit and going, actually, maybe we do live at 1, but that is not going to be the case here. We are just going to see the Fury of the North come out, play super safe. And yeah, that is going to do it. DK with Overwhelm and
Targon's Peak
is your champion.
And Boulevard, I couldn't have thought of a better lineup that I would want to win the Empires of the Ascended Seasonal. Congratulations to DK.